All right, everybody, welcome back to yet another Total Annihilation replay. I am the Corps Commander Postal, and today I'm bringing you something that is excellent. We have a metal map, our first ever experience on a metal map here, and it's not just any metal map. This is the metal map. This is Core Prime Industrial Area, otherwise known as CPIA. A lot of people generally refer to this and other large metal maps just kind of noob maps because it's infinite resources, and you're just getting so much metal and so much energy. It turns into this giant hawk fest, and then as a result, you just need Farks to keep pumping out hawks. So why on earth? Why would you pick core? You might be wondering. Well, here up in the top left, we have Tiptushi. Um, Bringing a core commander here to the core prime industrial area, and in the bottom right, we've got Gaia. Gaia was a excellent player. He kind of was a bit of a shooting star. He showed up and then managed to run pretty high up the ladder, challenging RVD and Aprox and everybody who's up the top. He was in the FFAX clan, so he was one of my guys. Guy here is saying that he's going to own you, Tip. And actually, in the pregame chat here, when they were talking, Tip asked to play this map. And Guy said, "Are you sure?" Basically, being like, "You're just going to lose. That's what's going to happen." So instead, Tip says, "You're welcome." He's anticipating the ownage that Guy's going to bring. So you can see the start. Guy went and dropped a bunch of solars, and then he just starts dropping these metal extractors, and all of them produce 2.3 metal. Tip has done much the same: 4 solars, 6 metal extractors, except he's dropping a plant now, whereas Gaia went 7. I'll make sure I get my stuff set up here. Gotta have our brought to you by the Swedish Yanks Bankers sonar right there. And we're gonna go ahead and crank this up to maximum because this is gonna get pretty crazy. So if you can think of any drinking games before we get started on this one, let me know in the comments what you think a good one would be. But I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that won't result in craziness. I don't know, maybe take a drink every time a Krogoth dies or something like that. We'll see if we get to that stage. So you can see now what they've done is Gaia's pushed out a Khan, and he's having that Khan build another Khan, while his commander drops more resources. Tip has done much the same. He gets a Khan out. He's now guarding. He's got 2 vehicle plants producing Khans as well. Nothing offensive at this point. It's just all about building as much resource, consuming as much resource. Gaia's dropping a second vehicle plant as well, using this Khan to build another and produce more of those. So as this one comes out, this one is then going to help build another one. So he's just got a nice little system going, dropping first with solars, getting that energy production up. You can see down here we managed to get our resource bars working again, which is really important for core prime industrial area. You can see they're right about the same on metal. Tip is a little bit further ahead on energy, not stalling on energy at all, as he does much the same here, cranking out Khans, having his commander flip back and forth from one to the other. So even in the idle time between the factories, he's actually able to keep things going. So, although now it looks like he's busy building with his massive amount of construction guys. So you can see how rapidly their metal is going up. We are just 5 minutes into the game, and both of them are already at plus 35 metal. So for those of you who love to play metal maps, you want to know how to crank your economy really fast, just kind of watch what these two guys are doing. Nothing but construction vehicles, guarding each other out, putting out as much as possible. Now, Guy over here, he's starting to build an air plant. And so he's planning on establishing forward fire bases, likely. Tip is doing much the same. And so they're building these to be able to scout. You're not going to see a bomber. It's usually not the greatest idea just because you can build so fast. What on earth is bombing metal extractor is going to do? So he builds an Atlas, and he goes and he picks up that Con, starts flying it. You can see Tip is building the core equivalent. He's building a Valkyrie. He's going to be doing much the same, just carting these construction vehicles all over the place. Down here, he used TA hook, and he hooked these factories, and he's just cranking out slashers. Anti-air defense as well as general vehicle defense as well. You can see guys bringing this Con up here. Couple Valkyries out right now. And sets that down again. He just gets one out, hooks resources. He uses that TA hook, builds a long line of metal extractors, just to give you kind of an idea here. This is what they're doing right there. And then they'll just do that, get them all started. And then they can look away, and that con will be busily building. So he's using a little shuttle service here, dropping a K-Bot lab. But Tip scouts it, and he sees it. So Tip grabs his Valkyrie here, other than going and attacking. This is dropping a missile tower. Guy starts to run, but Tip manages to snag that construction vehicle right there. Guy doesn't have any fighters or anything like that to save his construction vehicle from a terrible, terrible fate. And I'll show you what he's going to do here. He flies. Now, Gaia has line of sight here. Now, what Tip is doing is, while it's in that Valkyrie, he's bringing his commander over and capturing it. Because if he set it on the ground, the Gaia could self-destruct it or move it around. While it's in the air, he can't actually do that. So Tip just captured an armed construction vehicle and starts immediately building an armed K-Bot lab, taking armed technology for himself. The guy's building these forward bases right here. Now he's dropped a few missile towers. But he lost that one because he had to run away from that Valkyrie, but it was too late. You can see here, Tip is actually being cute. He's dropped a core construction vehicle on the top right on this little plateau above Gaia's base, just giving him something to do. Now, one of the things that Tip has done, he's just started sending these units in a wave. He doesn't need to actually pay attention to what's going on here. He doesn't really care about unit control at this point. He does want to drive this fire base away. So you can see how he is controlling them a little bit. Really, he's just given a move command. I mean, he's got to come back, and he needs to keep these construction guys busy. He's now cranking out a ton of cons. He's not even bothering to shoot down Gaia's scout at this point, although now he's getting a missile tower out to take care of that. See, these cons are just hooking missile towers. Again, Tip, if he were to control these a little better, could have cleaned this base out at this point, but that's not his objective. He's got way too much building to do. Now building a Punisher on top right there. Guy's got this base going, but that factory is sitting idle. Now you can see they're both already well advanced. One of the things you can do is, because metal is not really an issue, you can just start cranking out advanced construction, start working on other advanced things immediately. So he's working on a fusion. Start dropping Moho metal extractors, which generally are considered, not efficient. However, efficiency, as far as resources go, doesn't matter on core prime industrial area. So again, we are 13 minutes into the game right now. Gaia is at 233 metal, whereas Tip is sitting around 200 at this point. So part of the reason why ARM speeds up a little faster is their construction vehicles are faster. They move faster from bit to bit, and it's only a small speed and acceleration difference. But you can see how in a large-scale map like this, where production matters between two very good players, how that difference can actually scale quite rapidly. Now there's a 30 metal gap between the two of them. And a lot of it has to do with the speed of the construction vehicles. It does have a little bit to do with the build order that they're taking too. Because Gaia's started to crank out these Mohos faster than Tip has, whereas Tip is focusing on energy at this point. See how he's starting Moho as well. Now Tip went and dropped an advanced K-Bot lab and is using FFAxGaia to help build his fusions faster and to get his advanced aircraft going. You see how Gaia is doing much the same. He's getting advanced aircraft going. They want to get to Hawks as fast as possible. Tip hopped his construction vehicles down here, and now he's building missile towers right next to Gaia, who's aware of their existence. Now that one construction vehicle that ran away is now building this nice little base, but Tip sent his slashes up there to take care of it, and he's continuing to wave these storms into there with reckless abandon, just sending them down there to be totally annihilated. I'm a dad, I can make those jokes now. Tip hopping a K-Bot con down here as well. And he's just really building a cute little fire base right inside this Dragon's Teeth wall that Gaia had tried to build for himself. Didn't do much good at the end of the day. But he's already got one Hawk factory up, starting to build Hawks and putting them on the racetrack. Tip's busy cleaning up these fire bases that are really close to him. Doesn't want those flashes running into him, into his base and destroying construction. See, he just built all these going down. He just doesn't really care. Spins them up right now, starts them going, and he's just cranking storms out and sending them to their death. There's just something for Gaia to worry about, something for him to do, much the same as this right here. Again, Gaia's not paying attention to these flashes. They'll just sit there and get slowly picked off. You see, he just gives him a quick little move right there, because he is taking care of this down right here. He needs that Hawk production to be going as fast as possible. TA at this time, when this game was played in 2009, eventually pathfinding breaks because there's just so much going on that the pathfinding can't take care of itself. My understanding that, well, yeah, the new updated patches, they have Tip snagged another con right here. He doesn't really need it, but he stopped it from building by picking it up. The new patch will actually fix the pathfinding issues, so that pathfinding on a map like this won't break, but eventually that's going to happen. Now, both of these players know this, and that's part of the reason why you see them just cranking out air. You see, Tip is going Vamps, which are the core equivalent, and they're not really equivalent. Hawks are quite a bit better than Vamps, but Tip is staying true to core here. He's using Farks for the additional production power, but he wants to beat Gaia using core. You see he's dropping an Intimidator, dropping another Fusion, building more metal resources. Gaia's really exploded ahead here, though, because he's really cranking out these Moho metal extractors from multiple sources. He used Farks to accelerate those as well. So he's sitting around 500 metal, whereas Tip is only at 340. And Tip has got his fire base going. He's cranking out lots of gators. Although, in my opinion, he's got to build something to deal with that Hawk Swarm. So maybe not the best choice by Tip there not to put out slashers or something that can at least thin the Hawks. Because whenever you play this, when you're playing as core, you got to know that your Hawk production is going to be, your Vamp production is going to be behind. And so you need to be able to have any opportunity to give him targets for his Hawks that aren't your Vamps. See, Tip's not even flying in at this point. He knows he doesn't have enough to deal with this swarm by Gaia. This fire base by Gaia has gotten pretty well established here. He managed to protect it with missile towers from Tip's onslaught, and so he's producing. You can see what Tip is doing here. He's dealing with this fire base that Gaia established. He's built the Warlords, which busy just shooting lasers that can't get over that lip right there. This is just too high. But the secondary weapon of the Warlord can, so he's able to shell this right here. You can also see, to protect these Warlords, he's put out Shredders, which have the double missiles and the flak to be able to help thin the Hawks, because here they come. To protect his fire base, he does a little scouting. He notices the Intimidator right here, and his Bertha starts shooting, trying to take out some of these nice resources. So the flagships are busy thinning it a little bit. You can see Tip has lost that air fight right there. So he scouts. This Intimidator continues to fire. Now, Intimidators don't get more accurate until they hit Veteran. They get a level of veterancy. Typically, once they're around 50 kills, they're really accurate. But before then, they're not as accurate. So you can see right here, this one is sitting at 11 right now. Storm battle just raging here, and then in the back you can see Tip is just starting to hook out these Cobras. He really expects these Hawks to come in and come in hard, and he intends to survive against them. He's got missile towers up, slashers going down here to attack these, scouting again, continuing to attack. So he knows that they can't go anywhere to attack these flagships, but his purpose is he needs to be able to thin that Hawk Swarm. He knows these slashers are going to lose, but they're going to get a few missiles into there where he didn't have to lose any Vamps to do it. You can see that Hawk Swarm got thinned as soon as it got over these 3 flagships. Guy goes ahead and he pulls back. Tip's Intimidator is busy fighting. See, that little fire base got completely wiped out by the Hawks. And Guy is really trying to work on this right here, and this is the angle he expects. But that Intimidator is starting to get pretty accurate. Cleans out another Bertha. Nice shooting there. Tip's now got 2 up and going. 1 that's at 14 kill, and that 14 kill one is the one that's actually starting to actually score the hits. But what has happened down here is you can see Gaia sitting at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Going to be 15 plants, and he's got 2 nukes up as well. Tip's starting to just crank out these flat guys as well. You can see his vamp production is just not nearly as much. You can see inside these walls, I know when I played this back when I was a noob, you know, you just try and stay inside your walls and build laser towers. But that is not what they do, and definitely not what I do now. So you can see guys coming in, raiding the back, tending to taking out some resources. See when they fly over the missile towers how the Hawk Swarm just gets really thin there. Warlord's still shooting. Guy went ahead and got a Guardian up and try and give himself a little space for his fire base. Little Hawk's halo right there. Again, Guy remaining mostly unmolested in the back here. Tons of fusions. You can see all of those resources going right there. Fire base remains. And the Intimidator is doing its job, cleaning out this little base right here. Slightly longer range, and now with 20 kills, its accuracy is going to be pretty high up as well. But here comes the Hawk Swarm. This is where Guy is keeping his attention. So while he's controlling these Hawks, you can see he's the one making the movements, making sure they don't fly all over the place. He's not building. You can see those Hawks just get really thinned by those flagships as he flew over them. So now, when they bunch up like this, that's when he's called the remainder of his Hawks in. So one of the things you want to do with your Hawks is when you call them to a specific location, you want to let them get there and then fan out. Otherwise, they'll bunch up and then be really easy pickings for flak and for missiles, and they'll die due to area of AoE attacks. Tip brings in his Vamps. See, he managed to hold off Gaia's Hawk Swarm at that point. Keep in mind, Guy's anticipating he's going to win this one. He told Tip, are you sure you want to do this? I'm just going to win. I'm going to own you. Tip's managing to hold his own at this point. We're 33 minutes into the game. And Tip's resources have continued to grow, where Gaia, because he's busy controlling his Hawks, he's sitting around 700. Tip's at 800. Granted, he's accessing a lot of that. See, he's flying these scouts over, just letting his Intimidators fire at will. 5 nukes. And he's just stockpiling at this point. He hasn't shot them yet. This firebase remains. And Tip, he's got his Vamps over here. Guy bringing his Hawk Swarm in. More Hawks from down there. It looks like this is where Gaia intends to try and press his advantage. He fans them out and starts attacking. You can see Tip's put out Crashers, generally not considered particularly useful. You can see how, even though Tip doesn't need this water for anything, he's using it to thin that Hawk Swarm. So now Tip brings his Vamps in, and even though Gaia had him outnumbered, he manages to win that little fight. You can see right there, Gaia just shot that nuke and managed to score a hit. So it doesn't look like Tip has any serious anti-missile out, so now it looks like he's frantically putting down a Fortitude missile defense at this point. But Gaia's already got a lot of nukes. More Intimidators here, just continuing to shoot. And Tip pressing that advantage that he won to take out that firebase. Guy's Hawks aren't in time, and the firebase is pretty well beat. That's a lot of Hawks. He's got to be producing close to 50 to 100 a minute. Tip scouting. He sees a nuke. He's trying to do some damage with it. Takes out one. This is the first time that Tip's finally able to get an offense going here. This Hawk Swarm right here, I'm at a really high resolution right now. This Hawk Swarm is like 2 screens worth back when these guys were playing in 2009. Let's bring up this massive Hawk Swarm. He's got this nice other base up here that doesn't look like Tip's found yet. Intimidators make for a nice defense weapon when you're, well, just trying to shoot a Rocco with them. Again, it's not about being efficient here. It's about continually building. Tip's now up at 1,000 metal, whereas Gaia is kind of stuck at 700. So you can see he's building more stuff, but he's not really upping his metal production very much. Commander's down here. See Tip cranking out anti-missiles using all these T2 aircons that he's mass producing right here. See how he gets a lot of these going? You hear that sound? That's an anti-missile going up because Gaia has launched a swarm of missiles. And map's large enough, even though he launched them at the same time, that brings him down. So I guess I was wrong. I think I mentioned an early thing, if you fire 2 at a time, it will overwhelm the anti-nukes. But if you've got enough of them, you can hold off. The Tip successfully defends himself at that point from that missile barrage. But will he be able to defend himself from what is probably, I don't know, 100, 200 Hawks? So he's only got a handful of flackers in the back here. And Gaia's Hawk Swarm is thinned, but the Hawks emerge from that victorious. He pulls him back out from over the top of the flak. Tip bringing in. He's trying to cover this backside here with even more flak. Intimidators are shooting. I don't know where he has it exactly. There you go. This is a mobile anti-missile right here. You can see that's shooting. Again, Gaia has launched multiple nukes. And this one, because he fired them all at the same time, gonna get through. And takes out not much. Uh-oh. Alright, so it looks like at this point we've gone so crazy that the recorder is broken, so sadly we won't be able to see the resources at this point. But we'll be able to see much else, most else of what's going on here. You guys get the idea though. Tip's over 1,000 at this point. Guy is starting to play catch up again in resources. He's mostly spending his time controlling these massive, massive Hawk Swarms. He's cranking out flackers of his own. These are the phalanxes. That's the ARM version. You can see how he doesn't have too many more Hawk facilities over here, although he's started to build more. Guy's really counting on Hawks at this point. You can see how these guys are just not exactly moving very quickly. The pathfinding for them is pretty slow. But he did bring up and managed to clear out those Dragon's Teeth. And so now this fighting force brings out Tip's Vamps. Guy comes in, and he starts cleaning them out. He retreats some of his guys because they were getting shot down. And this is just lag up there, what you're saying. You can see Tip's just auto-sending scouts in at this point. Guy has screens full of Hawks, getting thinned a little bit by these flackers. You can see eventually they're just starting to slowly break through. The nice thing when you get this many aircons is they can just put up things really, really, really fast. So, more anti-nukes being shot by Tip. You can see all the missiles coming in, getting destroyed. And this one, you can see right there, that was a situation where an anti-nuke, 2 anti-nukes targeted the same nuke, and that's why they ended up flying off. So that wasn't a nuke fired by Tip. He doesn't have any nukes of his own going. You can see his Intimidators are firing at radar. He does have a radar targeting facility. I'm pretty sure he does, which gives him that option. I don't know exactly where it's at, but we're going to pay attention to the action here, rather than going hunting for that at this point. More Hawks. You can see just all the production. All these idle cons right here, because Gaia is really starting to break in at this point, wiping out Tip's starting standpoint. see Tip's production is just not nearly as much. You can see when he brings in this small little swarm, Gaia is bringing in and reinforcing with this massive cloud of hawks. Although Tip's continuing to crank up his production here. So we are 47 minutes in and Tip has survived, which is pretty remarkable against that severe amount of hawks at that point. And that's what a lot of nukes being fired all at once look like. So he's picked a single target location, and they get wiped out. Except for one, which sneaks through, because he fired him at the same place. And that's a big hit for Tip right there, taking out all those flackers that would have really caused some problems. So here comes another gazillion hawks. Yeah, they're both just continuously expanding. And here we have Tip putting down a Krogoth gantry. That is right. In a competitive game, you are actually bearing witness to a real Krogoth. We'll see if he manages to get it built. Guy flies down over those flak ships, and he actually manages to lose his cloud by going over all that anti-air, all these flackers and the slashers that he had there. So, Tip building Punishers like crazy. Just trying to hold off these forces from getting in here, getting at his fusions, at his mohos that he's got in the background. We'll take a look at the income here. Tip's now at 1100. Guy is cranking it up again. He's at nearly 800 metal. More fusions, more nukes, more hawks. You can see he's got all these guys just marching out here, building Big Berthas as well. Guy is sending in some bombers. Massive, just idle flak ships. This is just a death trap for the hawks. More nukes being fired. You can see, because he fired them all at the same location, all these nukes are going to get through. And he just cleans up this little section of defense that he had. At the same time, he brings in his own hawks to help thin. Tip is finally starting to catch up in production here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, nearly 25 hawks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So he's 28, although he's using bombers from some. So as far as air facilities, Tip is finally kind of even things out here. Because they're fighting over Tip's anti-air, there's the advantage to Tip. This guy is the one who's on the attack there. See how he's bombing out those flackers so that way he can bring his hawks in and try and win the fight that way. Tip just scouting. He's got just regular air plants that are just sending out scouts. That way he can just try and keep an eye on things. Intimidators don't have much to shoot at. Gaia scouting as well. Kind of getting a general idea of what's back here. The recorder's down. I imagine he marked that. And here we have it. A real-life Krogoth in a competitive game. You can hear that sound again. Gaia has launched hordes of nukes. Again, because they're all at that same location, they break through the incredible amount of anti-nuke that he has. You can see how he's got just a bunch. Just takes out all those flackers, takes out a fusion. Tip not building any nukes of his own. And he's brought out his Air Force to try and clean up this firebase right here. Gaia brings in his Hawk Swarm. You can see Gaia's Hawks are a little bit tighter. Even though Tip may have had numbers there, the Hawks are just simply better than the Vamps at that point. And that example gets exacerbated the more that you have. Sorry, that difference gets exacerbated. So, Gaia's Big Bertha is not in range of the base. And you can see what Tip has done here. So he's got all these advanced aircons just helping and building Krogoth. So he's continuing to build advanced aircons, having them build fusions, build metal, just build it everywhere. Gaia trying to press his Hawk advantage here. But his Hawk Swarm gets pretty well thinned there. So he brings in the reinforcements here. See, he's got his Hedgehog anti-nuke back here, another anti-nuke, and you can see he's just got anti-nukes all up along the wall here. More anti-nukes down here. You just gotta build anti-nukes like you build missile towers. Hook 'em. Building some Guardians, some armed vermin defense there, used by the Corps Commander here. Again, fighting over flak. He managed to take that one down. Guy's controlling his, Tip is not. Guy brings some more. Again, Guy's doing a lot of focusing on controlling those Hawks and really trying to press that advantage. So he's kind of switching between nuking and hawking. So he just hits his nukes, hits Control Z, and picks a spot. He knows he's got to fire all at the same spot if he has any hope of breaking through. And here he goes. He's got 4 that managed to break through that swarm there. Takes out the fusions, takes out the flaks. A row of flakkers right here, though, that he didn't get, and his Hawk Swarm gets pretty thin there. He sees it there. You can see how fast those flakkers just bring down those Hawks. We're plus 10 speed, so we are an hour in at this point. And Tip has been able to hold on. He's only pulled off 1 attack on Gaia at this point. Gaia has just been in constant offense. Streams and streams and streams of Hawks. He's just vomiting Hawks out of his base. Takes out his scouting operation. Really just cleaning, you can see here, he's just carved out this section of Tip's base. More Hawks flying in just to keep up that pressure. See how some of them are flying over that trap too. Over here you have this nice little halo of advanced construction cons cranking out Krogoths like crazy. So you can see here that's at 1 hour and 140. And so you can see here we are, see how long it actually takes for that one to get done. Nope, we just missed a big boom as more nukes got through. And there you go, it gets done. So that's about 45-second Krogoth right there. This is a pretty big hit for Tip, losing his anti-nukes in the back, as well as losing all those fusion resources that he has. Gaia coming in for another bombing run, bombing those fusions. You can see he also took out some of those air plants that he had as well. Continuing to work this advantage he has with the units and the Hawks to drive in from the north. Taking out his resources. Guy is really just driving in at this point. More nukes crisscrossing at this point. These two get away. Big hit right there to Tip's vamp production. And we have them in action, guys. This is it. We have Krogoths marching into Gaia's base. You can see all that metal poured into the Krogoths, and a huge giant Hawkswarm just takes them out. You can see those Krogoths are doing exactly what any other anti-air would do, and they are thinning out that Hawkswarm. So you can see Gaia, he's got his attention, focusing, bringing down Krogoths one at a time. It actually takes 2 passes for all those Hawks to actually bring down those really, really armored Krogoths. Again, Krogoths aren't considered an efficient unit, but on a map like this, it doesn't really matter. It's not about using your metal wisely, it's about using your time and your build power wisely. So you can see those Krogoths marched in and took out 6 production facilities of Hawks right there. In the meantime, he was able to rebuild some of his base while those Krogoths were just marching in. Tip didn't have to control those. He just sent them on a move order and let them walk into the base. Here come another stream of nukes. Again, Gaia is really just focusing on trying to break down Tip from the north here. Big hit right there, taking out that Intimidator who saved the day originally for Tip. Guy continuing to try and press this hole that he's created in the top. Again, flying his hawks over that trap. If there's more. More Krogoths. Also, you can see how he just sent nothing but crashers and only a handful of storms down here. This isn't an anti-air attack. It's designed to draw his hawks out. And really just give Tip breathing room. You can see right here, guys just marching through Tip's base. Very slowly but surely over the course of the hour, he's managed to push back into here. Tip rebuilding his vamps. He's got another hedgehog there. Bombers flying in, taking out his air production. Gaia knows that he built in a straight line, so all he has to do is just kind of bomb down that line and you can take out those production facilities. So Gaia's gotten back ahead in hawk production here. And Gaia says GG because he feels like he's pressed in. And Tip says, if you give up. So Tip's not going down without a fight. Even though Guy's really got that production, he's really just starting to tear him in at this point. Sorry, even though Tip has got decent production here. More nukes, taking things out. All these flackers right here thinning that horde. But that horde is instantly rebuilt. Tip's in real trouble. He's got more resources he's building down here. Try and replenish what he's got. Tip's at 1,300 to Gaia's 900 at this point. But again, it's about having that production. Gaia's just got simply more hawk production than Tip has vamp production at this point. So you can see that blue laser being fired from the Krogoth there. It will actually bring down a hawk out of the sky. But they also have those missiles on their back that are actually pretty decent anti-air. So a single Krogoth comes in. Did you see what happened there? As it died, its explosion killed a whole bunch of hawks. That was one of the things that Tip told me. He was like, you can use Krogoths as simply anti-hawk bombs. So here comes this giant anti-air wave. Tip brings in his own vamps to help draw the fire of the hawks. And the Krogoth just can march in. 15 hawks brought down. That's nice for a ground unit. Continues shooting. You can see it's slowly losing its health there. But as it goes, 32 hawks brought down. 34, 35. 37 hawks brought down by that Krogoth. Granted, those 37 hawks are cheaper than the Krogoth, but that doesn't matter. All these Krogoths just shooting their blue lasers, shooting their missiles, really thinning out Gaia Swarm. Now Tip brings his in to finish him off. More nukes. That's a lot that got through. Taking out that production. Guy's back to trying to defend himself from the Krogoths that are marching in. He just... There they go. See how when they die, they do damage each other, but a lot of hawks got brought down with that as well. Plus, Tip's just in his base now at this point with Krogoths. Guy doesn't really have enough hawks at this point to bring him down very quickly. He actually just nukes the Krogoths. You can see how he just fired those nukes right here. And there they go, blown to smithereens by nukes. This one's getting through though, and it's just marching through these fusions. He's busy focusing down that one while these two are getting away marching in. His own attack seems to have stalled because he's not paying attention or supporting with Hawks, because he has Krogoths in his base. Taking out those fusions, and those two blow up at the same time. So right as he finishes that Krogoth wave, which just carved this hole through his base, Tip has another Krogoth anti-air support wave on its way. The guy realizes the issue. Nope, he nuked the wrong thing. He's got to nuke this right here. But we are seeing probably a Krogoth every 30 seconds at this point. So Tip took that time where the Hawks flew away to rebuild his anti-air. The Krogoths marching in again. Gaia has to pull his Hawks back. He's not able to continue to his attack. Tip's starting to send infinite wave slashers. You can see how this pathfinding is just kind of bound up. Things just kind of jammed together. But you can spend time to micromanage things that you want to. And Krogoths are worth micromanaging. Just marching into his base at this point. Gaia actually having to pull up his phalanxes to try and thin some of Tip's vamps. Tip's letting these spread out. He doesn't have to spend time controlling them, and it also absorbs the fire from the Hawks. One of the things about Vamps and Hawks is they have 2 missiles each. One of them is a primary weapon, one is the secondary. You can control where the primary goes. The secondary will sometimes just shoot something you don't want it to. Big Krogoth boom right there. And now it is Tip who is marching through the back of Gaia's base. And what happened there is, I'm sorry I missed it. Gaia tried to degun a Krogoth and caught a blue laser. And I was trying to look for it down there. But yeah, the Krogoth spies the comm. And that shot takes care of it. And you can see what was happening there is that Tip was actually winning that. He managed to hold on and turn it around. He held on long enough to be able to start marching Krogoth straight through Gaia's base. Gaia wasn't prepared for it. The only thing he really had to defend himself were nukes and Hawks, because he was staying on that full offensive right there. So he didn't actually have a way of managing that. So you can see here, whenever you're playing CPIA at a really high level, you're going to see some big numbers right here. So what you're looking at right there from Gaia is, if I get my digits right here, 15 million energy. Sorry, that's 15 million excess energy. And you're looking at 108 million energy that he produced. Tip over here with a nice 7 digits worth of metal, 4,180,000 metal of just production that he was able to do. You can see Tip accessed more as well, but he also produced significantly more. But that doesn't matter. Tip really just made better use of his time. Gaia was really counting on that Hawk Swarm to be able to drive through and punch that hole in the top of his base. So Tip, when he mentioned this, he said he believes that Core Prime Industrial Area is actually a core map because of the Krogoth. Because you have the ability to thin out the Hawk Swarms, and they just absorb so much of the other players' time that they have to deal with them. Otherwise, they just march through, and their commander is sitting there when a Krogoth appears next to it, and he doesn't exactly know what to do. I think it's really fascinating, really interesting. I've never really seen Krogoths used effectively in a high-level game, and so this was a real treat to kind of see that go. Hope you guys enjoyed watching a metal map as well, and how crazy it gets with all the production, and it's just what it does to the machines as well at the time. This used to be a game back in the day where people would try and play this on 56K modems and old machines and old computers and just fry everything that they've got going on here. Cook their connections, cook their computers. Everybody just lags out and the game never ends. But here with the better connections in 2009, better machines, TA actually scaled well into that era. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Press that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. Give your regards to Tiptushi in the comments for sending this one over to me. And I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll catch you next time. Take care. Bye bye.